Today's Pokemon is a very cool one. At least I find that, because today's Pokemon is Gengar. Gengar is one of my all-time favorites. It looks cool, it has this very unique ghost flair, and is overall very well designed in my opinion. Even the sprite is great, and the fact that it was very hard to obtain back in the days didn't hinder the desperation to get one. It's kinda the same as for Alakazam with Champ. Those were great simply because you had to figure out how to get them, then get an actual friend to exchange hunters with, and finally you got really rewarded with a very strong Pokemon. At least that is in the first gen, so today our goal will be to investigate on how fast Gengar can be Pokemon Gold. As usual, let's have a quick look into the stats first. Gengar is quite similar to Alakazam. It also has great special attack and speed, and also has 500 total in-game stats. So far so good. Its other stats aren't bad, but aren't great either, so we will most likely focus on special attacks. It goes quite analog to Alakazam. If Gengar is able to one-shot everything, we should be able to clear this game pretty fast. Let's look into the effectiveness real quick. What is amazing is the fact that Gengar completely resists normal and fighting moves. This makes a lot of the fights easier because some Pokemon like Red Snorlax this way can't deal damage to Gengar. Also, Gengar double resists poison and bug, plus single resists grass. On the other hand though, it takes 2 times damage from ground, psychic, ghost and dark. This means especially psychic and dark type Pokemon could be a challenge, since we also deal times 2 damage to ghost Pokemon. If we have a quick look into the moveset, it looks like Gengar could be a great choice on the first look, but on the second look a lot of problems arise. First problem: up until Ilex Forest, the only damaging move that Gengar knows is Lick. Lick only has 20 base power. This is a big issue. Gengar has furthermore access to a lot of moves, but none of them are great. Dream Eater requires to have Hypnosis in the moveset, while the TM seems good, they really aren't. Of course, we have the elemental punches and psychic, but that basically is it. The best ghost move from the likes of Shadow Ball unfortunately is a physical move, and Gengar isn't a good physical attacker. And then it gets worse, because you could go for Curse Return combo, but since Gengar is a ghost type Pokemon, this won't work as well. So all in all, I think move wise Gengar will struggle a lot. And wow, was this a smooth transition? You have to admit that. Usually, the first footage you see after the intro is the final stage of the Sprout Tower, but this time things change, because in Gen 2, ghost moves can't hit normal types, which means that I have to deplete all of Gengar's PP to even be able to defeat this trainer on Route 30 who has a Pidgey and a Rattata. It did grant me a small head start level wise, yes, but on the other side, this did cost me 10 in-game minutes as well. Plus, remember, Gengar still isn't a great physical attacker. Unfortunately, I can't heal at any Pokemon Center basically up until Ilex Forest, because here and there some trainers that can't be skipped will have normal type Pokemon, and thus I would have to deplete all PP again, resulting in an even bigger time loss. So this means that I have to face the first portion of the game with a super strong special attacker using Struggle. Great! And it gets worse. After Sprout Tower, Gengar is still only level 13, the same as other Pokemon on the medium slow level group as well. So all in all, I just lost 10 to 15 minutes up until the first batch. But without further complaining, let's battle Falkner. Falkner usually is known for its bad AI. The gym is designed around Mud Slap, but often his Pokemon do not use this move. In this case, due to the fact that Tackle wouldn't hit, we will see a few Mud Slaps though. Because unfortunately, Gengar's Struggle isn't strong enough to take out Pidgey in one hit. So Pidgey uses its first Mud Slap, but luckily my second Struggle is enough to take it out. Against Pidgeotto, Gengar misses the first Struggle and Pidgeotto attacks with Gust. My second Struggle lands, but I need 3 Struggles to hit. Another Gust is followed by another Struggle miss, and Pidgeotto hits with Gust again. This is starting to add up, plus I also need to take a bit of recoil damage. My next Struggle hits, and after Pidgeotto's Gust, Gengar is down to 12 HP. But luckily, my last Struggle also hits, and with that, I have the first badge in my pocket. Next, I went to Union Cave. Here, I had to dodge the trainer with the Onix, but the other trainers really weren't an issue. I skipped every trainer that I could, but the mandatory ones I fought. After the Slowpoke well though, Kurt heals Gengar. I'm not sure whether this is good or bad for the rival battle, so let's see. Against Ghastly, Lick is very effective, but because it has only 20 base power plus it's a physical move, Ghastly has the chance to attack. It uses Spite, reducing the PP of Lick, which is okay. Another Lick knocks out Ghastly. Zubat comes out, and Zubat is indeed dangerous. Gengar opens with a Liquid, dealing almost half, plus paralyzing Zubat. Then Zubat can't attack because of the polarization. The next turn, another lick brings Zubat into red HP, but Zubat uses Confuse Ray. Gengar hurls itself, and Zubat makes things worse with a super effective bite. Another lick though finishes off Zubat. I put Croconaw to sleep to chip away its health with licks, which deal almost no damage. After 3 licks, Croconaw wakes up and hits with Water Gun. I use another lick, which brings Croconaw close to the red HP and paralyzes it again. Great news, but Water Gun brings Gengar down to 13. This will be a close race. My lick brings down Croconaw to red, but in the same turn its Water Gun leaves Gengar at 5. I have to knock it out now, or get lucky, but I do the first and knock out Croconaw at the very next lick indeed. That was very close again. Since Lick is a lot worse than Struggle, I used Bugsy's gym again to deplete all of Gengar's PP. Bugsy's Pokemon after all still have a lot of normal moves, and even if they go for a Poison or Bug attack, these will be double resisted. So I knock out Metapod with 3 Struggles and Kakuna in another 2, and with 45 HP I face Scyther. Scyther outspeeds and goes for Fury Cutter, which deals 1 damage. Struggle then deals about a quarter to Scyther. The next Fury Cutter hits for 2, and Struggle takes on Scyther to orange. The third Fury Cutter misses, and Struggle almost knocks out Scyther, but the last Fury Cutter that deals again 1 damage is followed by a final Struggle that takes out Scyther. Gengar levels up to 21 and learns Nightshade instead of Mean Look. It might be a bit better than Nick, but not too much. Gengar now is about 30 minutes slower than Alakazam and even 15 minutes slower than Venusaur, who held last place at Bugsy up until now. So now that I got Nightshade and Headbutt, it was time to catch up. Luckily, until now Gengar hasn't been to a Pokemon Center, so the teleport skip will work if Gengar is able to defeat Whitney. I start with Headbutt against Clefairy and not even deal half HP. Clefairy uses Metronome, which summons Harden. This isn't particularly good, but also not too bad. My next Headbutt brings it down to red, and Clefairy uses Drill Peck for Metronome, dealing quite a bit. A final Headbutt knocks Clefairy out, but 43 HP for Miltank isn't much. My first Headbutt hits and deals about a fifth. Luckily, it also let Miltank flinch. The second Headbutt brings it close to half and Miltank starts to roll out, dealing 7 damage. My third Headbutt resulted in another flinch, as well as the fourth Headbutt, so a last 5th Headbutt is enough to take it out. Lucky is the right word here. Now, with a time of 1 hour and 32 minutes, and battles that feel pretty smooth with the current moveset, Gengar still lost about 7 minutes of in-game time in this section compared to Alakazam. These two Pokemon seem pretty close to each other, but honestly, they weren't. On my way out of Goldenrod City, I picked up the Squirt Bottle and Kenya as usual, but also Fire and Ice Punch, teaching Fire Punch right away. So next up is Morty. Morty is quite dangerous because Ghost is weak to Ghost types, and as usual, there is the danger of Curse that is always there when battling Morty. Fire Punch one-shots the first Ghastly, but unfortunately, it is not enough to one-shot the Haunter as well. Haunter goes for Hypnosis and things start to fall apart. The first Nightshade hits. I stay asleep. The second Nightshade hits. I still stay asleep. The third Nightshade hits, and it's basically over. I wake up on the 4th turn and knock out Haunter, but the hill I have to climb here is very steep now. Gengar comes out, and instead of Hypnosis I go for Fire Punch. Gengar retaliates with Shadow Ball, and over it is. The first reset for Gengar. Let's try again. Well, this is already the 6th try, so there's a lot that can go wrong here. Against Ghastly, I go for Fire Punch, which is a secure one-shot, even with a bad range. I put Haunter to sleep and use Fire Punch. This has never one-shot it, so I guess Gengar is a bit too low to one-shot it with Fire Punch. A second Fire Punch seals the deal though. I put Gengar to sleep and hit with Fire Punch afterwards to deal a bit more than half damage. The opposing Gengar woke up and put me to sleep instead. I was asleep and Gengar used Dream Eater to not only deal a lot of damage, but also heal itself by quite a bit. I then wake up and hit with Fire Punch, while the opposing Gengar went for another Dream Eater, which now missed due to my Gengar not being asleep anymore. So a final Fire Punch defeats Gengar. Last but not least the Haunter. It will go for Nightshade anyways, and since I know that I can two-shot it with Fire Punch, this is the route I choose. The first Fire Punch almost knocks it out, and then as prognosed it goes for Nightshade, which Gengar survives by 7 HP. Another Fire Punch is enough to claim the Fog Badge. But there is a development ongoing in the background that does not make me happy. Within every section, Gengar is losing more and more time. Each of the other Pokemon took about 20 minutes for this badge, while Gengar took 23. We have to gain traction now to finish with a good time. With Shadow Ball in my arsenal instead of Nightshade, it should go better now I guess, even though it's a physical move. Up next is always Chuck, and Chuck was one of the easier gyms I expected. After all, it's a fighting type gym and Gengar is immune to that, so let's see what happens. Primap can't do anything against Gengar. I open with Fire Punch, which deals more than half, and Primap uses Lure, but another Fire Punch knocks it out. Poliwrath though is dangerous. I try to put Poliwrath to sleep, but I miss, and instead Poliwrath puts Gengar to sleep. The very next turn, Poliwrath uses Mind Reader. Luckily, after that, Gengar wakes up and lands a Hypnosis to put Poliwrath to sleep. Chuck uses a full heal before Gengar hits with Shadow Ball. Unfortunately, Shadow Ball does not deal half, but I still go for the risky play. Gengar's Shadow Ball brings Poliwrath close to red, while it retaliates with Hypnosis again. The first serve lands after I stay asleep, bringing me down to a nice amount of HP. The second serve hits while I stay still asleep, and at this point I can tank another one as long as it doesn't crit. I indeed don't wake up, but luckily Surf doesn't crit. So Gengar, this is your last chance to wake up and secure this battle. Gengar wakes up, Shadow Ball hits and Poliwrath goes down. This is quite funny. All the matches have been really close battles so far, and I had to really push the limits of Gengar's speech to secure victories. And finally, Gengar is on par with the other Pokemon for that split. Now, next up is Jasmine. Magnemite opens, but this is one of the few batches where I actually feel well prepared. A single Fire Punch is enough to take it out. The second Magnemite awaits the same fate, and so Gengar is already at Steelix. Well, this time I have a strong special attacker by my side, so Fire Punch almost knocks it out. Steelix misses with Iron Tail before Jasmine uses a potion to heal Steelix up. The Fire Punch brings Steelix down again immediately, and the very next Fire Punch takes out Steelix. So I have 6 batches now, and for once Gengar wasn't close to fainting. After a quick sweep through the rocket hideout, we are outpriced already. Steel takes a one-shot from Shadow Ball. Dewgong, due to higher level, does resist the first Shadow Ball and retaliates with Aurora Beam, but it dealt only 16 damage and so a second Shadow Ball took it out. Gengar levels up to level 39 and returns Dream Eater instead of Headbutt. Dream Eater is good. I'm planning to have Hypnosis anyways, so I can use it when I need to regain health. Piloswine enters the fray, but it goes down to a single super effective Fire Punch. Next on the list is the rival battle during the radio takeover. The rival starts with Golbat, which survives my first Fire Punch. It retaliates with Confuse Ray. And of course, Gengar hits itself from confusion, and Golbat's bite makes things worse. The very next turn, Gengar snaps out of confusion and finishes off Golbat with another Fire Punch. Because Sneasel knows a dark move, the rival sends it to the field, but since Gengar knows Fire Punch, Sneasel is a one-shot. So my rival decides to bring the Radigator, another Pokemon that has access to a dark move in the form of Bite. I go for the offensive play again and try to get a 2-shot with Shadow Ball. It is very close to half, and maybe I got a bad range here so that a second Shadow Ball would be enough. Radigator used Bite as predicted, but to my surprise it dealt almost nothing. Gengar attacks with Shadow Ball and gets a crit to knock out Radigator. Well, okay, that's a way to ensure a 2-shot. Magnemite then isn't a challenge due to Fire Punch, and so isn't Haunter. The super effective Shadow Ball, although not special, is enough to 1-hit KO the Haunter. Next, I have to put in another battle, which I didn't really plan well. The Rocket Executive with the Houndour and the Houndoom. I know that those were going to be tricky. In this case I only have Fire Punch, Shadow Ball, Hypnosis and Dream Eater in my arsenal. I put the Houndour to sleep and tried to use Dream Eater, but I forgot that it's a Psychic move and therefore is fully resisted by Houndour. Although not being very effective, a single Shadow Ball is still enough to take it out, and then out comes Houndoom. I again decide that offense is the best defense and go for Shadow Ball. I get rewarded with a crit. Even without the crit, I think I would have survived the bite from the Houndoom, but it's still better this way. Now, Coughing isn't that big of a deal. I attack with Shadow Ball, but Coughing hangs on a few HP. It retaliates with Sludge, but it's not enough to even tickle Gengar. Poison is double resisted by Gengar, so another Shadow Ball is enough. So I'm at Claire already and have taught Gengar Ice Punch instead of Shadow Ball in the meantime. Ice Punch is of course a great addition, especially for the Dragon type gym. It's no big surprise that Gengar is able to one-shot not only the first 2, but of course all 3 Dragonairs. Against Kingdra, I opted in favor of Ice Punch instead of Hypnosis. Ice Punch dealt a bit more than half, which is good. Kingdra isn't at healing range, and itself only deals 40 damage, so that the second Ice Punch is enough to take it out. It's time to face the rival, one last time, just before the Elite Four. This time the rival opens with Sneasel. Since his Pokemon haven't leveled too much since the last encounter, things go as usual. A single Fire Punch is enough. Next out is Golbat. This time, with the Ice Punch, I can again secure a one-shot instead of the risky play with Fire Punch and risking a Confuse Ray. Magnetron is easy prey for my Fire Punch as well as Haunter, both going down in single hits. Against Kadabra, I switched to Ice Punch already, and because it crits, I get another one-shot. And last but not least, Gengar again faces Radigator, but this time this little crocodile isn't as scary because it does not now bite anymore. Ice Punch deals a third, and for Relegator uses Water Gun at level 38. Not even Surf. One more Ice Punch is followed by another very non-dangerous Water Gun, so that my final Ice Punch can knock Relegator out. So up to the Elite 4 we go. One last heal and we are at will already. His Pokemon are Psychic types and each of them knows Psychic, so this fight is actually a bit scary. I have some counters as well though. So the first Xatu is immediately taken care of by an Ice Punch. Jinx gets a Fire Punch which knocks it out, and the same thing happens to Executor, which also falls to a single Fire Punch. Against Slowbro, I don't really have good answers, so I put it to sleep. Dream Eater might be my best choice here since it's 100 base power. It hits and deals about a third. Luckily, Slowbro stays asleep. Another Dream Eater lands, and with a lucky crit I move on. The last Xatu is no match for an Ice Punch. Next on the list is Koga. Ariada starts and is quickly dealt with a single Fire Punch. Up next is Venomoth. For some reason, I always think this Pokemon is Bug Flying instead of Bug Psychic, which results in me using Ice Punch. Ice Punch does not knock it out, and Venomoth uses Psychic. It luckily only deals about 50 damage, so another Ice Punch knocks it out. Fortress cannot withstand a Fire Punch, but Muk is a bit stronger defensive-wise. Fire Punch does not quite deal half, and Muk goes for Minimize. Fire Punch still lands and brings Muk down to red HP, which retaliates with the Sludge Bomb. Still, Poison deals no damage to Gengar, and so a third Fire Punch finishes Muk off. Out comes Crobat, which is definitely part Flying type, so this time Ice Punch is the right choice to knock it out on a single hit. Next up is Bruno. At this point I usually need to start thinking about my PP, and so it is this time as well. I start against Hitmontop with Fire Punch, which is not enough to take it out. It lands with Dig the next turn, dealing a bit of damage, and then goes down to another Fire Punch. Onix comes in and I put it to sleep. I defeat Onix with Dream Eater to regain HP and conserve the punch's PPs. Hitmonlee survives the Fire Punch and uses High Jump Kick afterwards. It deals quite a bit, but not enough to make me feel uncomfortable. Another Fire Punch is enough then. I put Hitmonchan to sleep and do one-shot it with a Dream Eater. And out comes the ace. I miss Hypnosis not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, but 5 times in a row to get defeated. That's nearly a 0.1 chance for this to happen. Well, I think I used too many Fire Punches anyways, so I take that reset even though it's really unfortunate. Then next try I start against Hitmontop with a missed Hypnosis. It uses Dig, and the next time it was above the ground my next Hypnosis landed. Dream Eater takes it out. Against Onix I choose the same strategy. Hypnosis lands and the Dream Eater takes it out. Additionally, I get the nice heals, which I need because I did not bring potions. Hitmonlee falls asleep and I misclick with Fire Punch twice, but it goes down as well. The first Hypnosis against Hitmonchan misses and it lands a Fire Punch, but after that my Hypnosis hits and Dream Eater takes it out. This time my champ is a bit more cooperative and gets put to sleep. A single super effective Dream Eater is enough to take it out as well. It's time for the almighty Karen. Umbreon takes a third of its HP from an Ice Punch, but because Feint Attack is super effective, it does not go for Sand Attack, which is good. I need 3 Ice Punches though, so another Feint Attack does indeed land, but after my third Ice Punch, Umbreon goes down without a single Sand Attack. Up next is Murkrow, which is no hurdle for Ice Punch. I put Houndoom to sleep and start to chip away its health with Ice Punches. Ice Punch deals about a quarter, so it's going to be close. The second one crits though, and now it's looking good. The third Ice Punch does knock out Houndoom. Vileplume is no match for Ice Punch, and we're onto Gengar already. I pick Fire Punch, which deals a bit over half, and then Gengar goes for Cures, knocking itself out. Well, I'll take that. Before facing lands, I heal up, and I wanted to use a Max Ether on Ice Punch, but I mashed my buttons too fast and replenished Hypnosis PP by accident. Well, I have enough attacks anyways, so I should be fine, but this requires a change in strategy. I have to put Gyarados to sleep. My strategy is to have the Ice Punches for the Dragonites, because they are 100% one-shots. The other Pokemon I can deal with other ways. Gyarados cooperates and falls asleep. The first Dream Eater does a bit more than half and Gyarados stays asleep, so that the second Dream Eater takes it out. As mentioned, for the Dragonites I kept my Ice Punches, so the first Dragonite goes down to exactly that. The second one comes out and another Ice Punch is enough to take it out. Against Aerodactyl, I try how much damage a Fire Punch deals. It's not quite a third, so after its Rock Slide I try to put it to sleep. I'm successful with that, and a single Dream Eater is enough to take it out. Now it's only Charizard and Dragonite remaining. I put Charizard to sleep again and use Dream Eater in the next turn. It does not quite knock it out, dealing somewhat like 70% in the first turn. Charizard goes for the nap and another Dream Eater lands, knocking it out. So we are at the final Dragonite already, and it totally goes as expected. Ice Punch is a 1-hit KO, and there we have the clear Elite Four. I've decided to change up things a bit with the narrative of the videos. Kanto after all isn't as interesting, so I decided to not put every gym anymore in the videos. It's a bit much, and the gyms in Kanto are pretty easy, so as long as my contender sweeps the gyms, they won't be in the videos. If it struggles with one, then I will include those. So surprise surprise, we're at Sabrina. Due to her Psychic typing, she was a challenge. To my surprise, my Ice Punch does not deal enough damage to knock out her Espeon. I didn't heal up, and so Espeon's Psychic has a chance to knock out Gengar. So I tried again. That definitely was a mistake, because there's no way that I can win this without luck and grinding resets. I start against the Espeon again. Instead of the safe Hypnosis, I go for the Ice Punch, and with all the luck out of this world, I get the crit. I then put Mr. Mime to sleep and start to regenerate health with Dream Eater. It does about a half, and Mr. Mime stays asleep. Another Dream Eater brings it to the wet HP zone, and a final one knocks Mr. Mime out. So we are onto Alakazam. I press A to Quick and hit Psychic instead of Hypnosis. It does not deal half, and Alakazam retaliates with its own Psychic, knocking out Gengar with a critical hit. So all good things come in peace. This time I put Espeon to sleep instead of Ice Punch, the way more safe strategy. Also, I use Dream Eater to regain health points slowly over the likes of 3 turns where I also knock out Espeon. Mr. Mime comes out and Hypnosis misses. It goes only for Reflect luckily, and not Psychic. I then put it to sleep and Dream Eater deals again almost half. But this time, Mr. Mime woke up early and used Button Pass, switching to Alakazam. I tried to use Hypnosis, but get a miss again and I have to tank a Psychic. This time it doesn't quit though, and I hang on with 70 HP. My Hypnosis finally lands on Alakazam, and I have time to regain health with Dream Eater. My first almost deals half, and my second one brings Alakazam close to fainting, but not quite. Sabrina then used a Hyper Potion, but finally 3 more Dream Eaters were enough to take out Alakazam. Now it's onto a half HP Mr. Mime that does get taken out by a single Ice Punch. We're onto Blue already. He starts with Pidgeot, which is no match for an Ice Punch. Next out comes Raiden, but this tank has haunted me too much in the last run. I quickly get rid of it with another Ice Punch. Nice special defense there, Raiden. Against Alakazam, I use another Ice Punch because I figured I would have high enough HP to tank a Psychic. It deals close to 2/3 and Alakazam only used Reflect. Because I wanted to use Ice Punch against Executor, I defeat Alakazam with Psychic. Psychic against Gyarados does not quite deal half. It sets up Rain Dance, and I had hopes for a bad range, but my second Psychic does not quite knock out Gyarados. It then hits with Hydro Pump, which doesn't even deal half. Blue uses a full restore before I could knock out Gyarados, so after my Psychic I put Gyarados to sleep. Before I could knock it out now, with Dream Eater Blue uses another full restore. I miss my Hypnosis and Gyarados sets up Rain Dance again. My next Hypnosis lands, and Blue should be out of full restores, and so it is. Dream Eater lands and deals very close to half. Maybe this time I'm closer to the range, and so it is, I'm able to knock out Gyarados then in 2 turns. And in the meantime, I regenerated all the missing health due to the leftovers that I have equipped. Arcanine comes in, and Psychic puts it into orange HP. It uses Flamethrower, but remember, it was still raining, so it only dealt about 30 damage. A second Psychic is enough to take it out. Executor then takes a super effective Ice Punch, but not so well, and so Blue is defeated. It's on to Red. I tried for the first time at level 69. We immediately see the problem. I can't knock out a Pikachu with a single Psychic. It goes for Charm, which is okay. Then comes a potion, only for my Psychic to then knock it out with a crit. Next up is Snorlax. My Hypnosis misses and it goes for Amnesia, boosting its special defense. Another Hypnosis misses and Snorlax goes for Amnesia again. My third Hypnosis hits, but it's too late. My Psychic deals almost nothing in this case. After a few attacks, Snorlax woke up and used Rest. This tank is a problem because it can't hit me with its damaging moves. That means it will go for Rest and Amnesia. It took me quite some time and a lot of resets, unfortunately, to find out the winning strategy. Dream Eater wasn't useful anymore. I had Psychic already and didn't need the HP gain, so I chose to learn Return. Also, I needed to grab a few more rare candies, which I didn't take in the beginning to save time. I totally expected Gengar to do better, and ultimately, I also grabbed some vitamins to really bring Gengar to its maximum power. As said, unfortunately I figured out step by step what I needed, so I lost a lot of time walking and backtracking. It's the point where I wonder if I should do also 2 runs. Well, it is what it is, so let's finally defeat Red. Red starts with Pikachu. With all the improvements in place, I can finally take it out securely with a single Psychic. And next out comes Snorlax. I put it to sleep, return crits, so Snorlax has just above half health. The second return brings it into a third, another return to Red, and the final return knocks it out. I put Espion to sleep then, which is mandatory because of the scary Psychic. Return deals about half, and the second return is enough to take out Espion. Now comes Venusaur. I go for Psychic immediately because for some reason Venusaur did never set up Sunny Day against Gengar and always went for the loaded Solar Beam. I even get the crit to knock it out on a single hit, which is even better. Charizard is put to sleep with Hypnosis. Psychic deals close to half and importantly drops Charizard's special defense, but Charizard wakes up and uses Flamethrower. Due to the defense drop, another Psychic is enough to take it out. I use Hypnosis against Blastoise but miss. It sets up Rain Dance afterwards. My second Hypnosis also misses, and I have to tank a Surf, which brings Gengar down to 70 HP. Hypnosis needs to land now and it does, giving me time to regain HP and also chip away Blastoise's HP. Psychic is my best move and it deals about third. I go for another Psychic and get the crit to knock out Blastoise. So Gengar finishes Red with a time of 6 hours, 34 minutes and 8 seconds. Additionally to that, it had 19 resets, which is a lot, of which 11 were at Red alone. With those resets in consideration, it clocked at a final time of 6 hours, 43 minutes and 38 seconds. So it is close to Venusaur and on the other hand, pretty far off Alakazam. It seems that you need a pretty good stab move to defeat Red in a fast time. Both Alakazam and Tyranitar did have access to those, and both Venusaur and Gengar really didn't. But for now, another Pokemon is off the list. I will take some thoughts on the question whether I want to change my approach though. That's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, have a great day, and see you in the next one.